Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. So I'm going to wait just 1 or 2 minutes for all the people to join. In the meantime, if you can hear me properly, if you have any issue, just let me know. Write in the chat. I think to open the chat, you need to click on the video and open it on YouTube, and then you're going to be able to write stuff. So for any kind of issue, write me there. If you can't write me, just write me an email. I have here my phone so I can see what's going on. And we're gonna be started in 1 minute. Okay, so let's get started. So welcome to this webinar. Today we are going to talk about why AI projects fail and how you can start a career in AI by basically understanding what are the key important steps you need to take to ensure that your projects are not going to fail and going to be successful. So before we get started, something that I wanted that I would like to ask you, that is to try to avoid your phone, try to avoid social media, find a quiet place to focus, and any question you have, just write in the comment section. The reason why I'm telling you this is because we're going to be together just for 30 minutes, okay? And this is a moment for you to develop your knowledge about artificial intelligence. So I would like you to try to relax and get completely focused on what we have to say, because it's going to be short, but it's very important what we're going to say today, okay? So with that said, let's get started. First of all, let me introduce myself. So who am I? My name is Gianluca Mauro. I'm the co-founder of a company called AI Academy together with my good friend Nicolo that you see here in this picture with me. So we are a company specialized in education and consulting on artificial intelligence. We are also the authors of a book called Zero to AI that I actually have right here. And in this book, we talk a lot about what is artificial intelligence and how you can use it. And some of the concepts that are in the book are gonna also be object of our webinar today. So now, enough presentations, let's get started. So first of all, let's see what's going on in the world with artificial intelligence. What are media saying? What are websites saying about AI? And if you try to make a research on the internet, it's really interesting what you find, because basically it looks like everyone is super excited. Everybody's saying, you have here AI in the energy industry is untapped resource. People are talking about healthcare. The future is amazing. How AI is disrupting the energy industry, fashion. Every field seems to be either already being disrupted by AI or about to be disrupted by AI. Yet, in the meantime, if you try to dig a little bit deeper and try to see a little more information about what's going on, you find that not everything is so perfect. For instance, I found this quote by IBM in 2013. So IBM had made this press release when they were saying that they were going to work together with the MD Anderson Cancer Center to try to eradicate cancer by using artificial intelligence. Which sounds super cool, right? Who doesn't want cancer to be eradicated? Yet, a few years later, I found this testimonial by a doctor who said, this product is a piece of, I'm not going to say it, you can just read it and imagine what word is that. We bought it for marketing. We hoped that it was going to reach this goal, and then it actually didn't. So it seems like there's a lot of media coverage about how cool AI is, but if you try to get deep into what's actually happening in the world, not everybody is super happy. Not everybody gets what they expect. And if you dig even deeper and you try to look at the data about how many people are succeeding in AI, you find out that 87% of AI projects never get deployed, which is crazy if you think about it. That means that basically just one project out of 10 gets to deployment stage, okay? So today I want to try to understand why that happens. But before we do that, we need to understand what is an AI project. So an AI project is a well-scoped initiative that uses AI to build products or features or optimize existing processes. So basically, we are not talking about research. Here we are talking about business. We are talking about AI projects that are going to have an impact on businesses by either launching new products or features or by optimizing existing processes. This is what we're going to talk about today, okay? This sentence is from actually the book Zero to AI. Now, that being said, why so many AI projects fail? This is what we're going to talk about today, okay? Why so many AI projects fail? So there are three, from my experience, there are three main core reasons around the failure of AI projects. And you can see it as a pyramid of risk, okay? And the bottom, there's the company culture. We're going to see later each one of these mean. So don't panic if you don't understand exactly what this means. This is just to give you a general idea, then we're going to deep deeper into each one of these. At the bottom of this pyramid, there's company culture. Then there is organizational readiness, which is how ready is your organization to use AI. And on top, just at the pyramid, there are and on top of the pyramid, there are specific risks about the project. Now let's move forward and let's see each one of these, what they mean. So a few examples of project level risks. So reasons where a project may fail that are specific of that project. So three potential reasons. The first one is no business need. It may sound trivial, but you have no idea how many times I've seen projects that fail just because they were completely useless, okay? In the first place, that project should not have been built. And this is the main reason why projects fail. Second reason, feasibility. And here what I mean is that a lot of companies approach AI thinking that having some expectations that are just not realistic. So what happens is that either their project is too hard to build or they may not have the right data to build that project. And having the right data is key to have to build successful AI applications. What happens is that often if you don't have the right data, then you're going to find yourself in a situation where you just can't build what you want to build, basically. Let me just reopen this. Okay. I don't know why I can't put it bigger now. Anyway, it's fine. So then let's talk about other reasons why AI projects fail. Um, Actually, I want to first give you an example about this kind of risk. Okay, so an example from my personal experience. This is something that I've actually built in the past, and I've noticed these kind of risks. So here's the story. I was working for a pharmaceutical company. This company was a leader in producing a drug for fertility treatment, which basically means that there's a couple that can't have kids, and then the woman needs to take this drug that is going to help her be more fertile and potentially have kids. Okay, it's very complicated because there's a bunch of hormones in the drug, and so it's really frustrating for people. So what the company had in mind was to make an app where it was going to be something like an emotional diary for the patient. So the patient will take a selfie Every day, the app will tell the patient, hey, take a selfie, tell me how you feel today. And if the patient seemed happy from the picture, then the app will tell something positive. If the patient seemed unhappy from the picture, then the app will be trying to encourage this patient to just give a little bit more time because a baby is on the way. And so this is the concept, basically. What they wanted to do was that there's a selfie, then there's some AI. If the person is positive, you get a sentence like, what a beautiful smile, keep up the positive attitude. If the sentence is, if the face is negative, the AI understands this and says, bad days happen, don't worry, it'll get better. So why am I telling you this example? Because the company wanted to start basically building the app right away. So they wanted to go talk to some suppliers, try to build the app, and then once the app was built, just push it out. And that will have cost them a few tens of thousands of euros. What I've done instead is I built a very simple prototype using some techniques that I explain in my courses. Basically, it took me around, I think, half a day to build the prototype. And what happened is that then we try to basically show it to people immediately, to like just go to people and be like, hey, this is the prototype, what do you think about this? And what happened is that we got immediately feedback, and the feedback was, I hate this. I don't want to have an app that tells me to take a selfie because the therapy is already hard enough. I don't want to use it. So this project was completely useless because people did not want to use that app. Yet, if the company will have gone through the whole process of building the app, even the best AI will have not matter at all. Why? Because there's just no business need. It doesn't matter how strong this AI is. It does not matter. People did not want to use that kind of app. Okay, so the takeaway here is that if you can build something, it doesn't mean that you should. So if you're capable of building some great technology, that doesn't mean that you should build that technology. Okay, so this is my learning for you for this specific case. Now, let's move forward. We talked about these risks of the specific risks of the project, and we made an example of a case where a project had no strong business need, so it was not validated from the business point of view. Now I want to talk to you about some examples of organizational level risks, okay? And the way I want to do it is by telling you another personal experience, because these are all things that I'm telling you because I've just experienced them in my consulting career. This was this project I built for a company that it took me 2 months to prototype. So in 2 months, I basically got the data, cleaned the data, built the first model, just checked that it was actually working as good enough. We got the performance that we wanted, and then it took this company 2 years, actually more than 2 years, to decide what to do with it because they need to understand where do we deploy it, in the cloud, in which cloud, is it going to be a global project, a country project? Do we have the right legal framework to use it? Do we have actually the right permission to do this thing? Who's in charge of maintaining it? Is it a project that is going to be maintained by the IT department, or is it a project that is going to be maintained by the data science department, or maybe the business, because it was a project with a strong business impact? So basically, what I want to tell you is, even if your project works, even if your technology actually can help your company to create something of value, then the success of the project still depends on the existing infrastructure of the organization. What does it mean? That you need to have a company that has both the IT side really strong, but also some governance and legal structures that are ready to actually take that project and bring it to life. Do not take this for granted, because I've seen, this is just one example, but I've seen many other cases where the technology was just there. The technology was perfect. The models that I built or the other professionals built were great, but the company was just not ready to take that project and bring it into their existing processes. Okay? And this is a big risk because it doesn't matter how good your project is. If your company doesn't know how to actually use it, then it's a big issue. Okay? So now moving on, let's talk about cultural level challenges. So I want to make a very simple example here. Okay? Let's say that you're a manager and you want to build a recommender system. Okay, recommender system is basically one what you use every time you open Netflix or Spotify or even Facebook. They show some content. That content was picked because they thought that you were going to be interested in that specific content in the topic. Okay, so let's say that you're a business manager. You know that you need to increase engagement. Let's say you do marketing. You see that a lot of users are just abandoning your service, and you want to use AI to maximize this. So a lot of managers would just come to you and say, I want to use AI to maximize user engagement. If you take this sentence and you give it to the data science department, they're going to tell you, what? It's like, how? What do you want to do? What does it mean? This is not a very specific description of what you want to do. So a better manager will say something like, I want to use AI to recommend content to users. That's a little bit better because the data scientist will know, okay, we need to build a recommender system, basically. This is what we need to do, okay? But it's still not good because it doesn't tell me how. If you're a business manager, you should know what are the drivers of user engagement. You should know what are the things that make a user engaged or not engaged. And how do you do that? Well, these will be the best way of explaining this project. You can say, will we use data from user ratings and interactions with the platform to build a recommender system that suggests content to users? We'll measure the effects on retention. You can see how this sentence has so many positive elements. There's so many best practices in trying to explain a project because it talks about the kind of data you want to use. You want to use data from user ratings. And that means that the manager that thought about this description already had in mind how to build the project. So that's so much better, right? It's going to also think about other sources of data, like interactions with the platform. It thinks about the kind of algorithm we want to build, so recommender systems, the action that you want to take, so suggest content to users. And also, this is super important. This is like project definition nirvana, the measure how of success. So it says we'll measure the effects on retention. This is the best way that a manager can express a business need and transform it into an actual project. Okay. I saw some questions are coming. I'm going to answer them in the end. Okay, Gianluca, hold on a little bit. So why this manager was able to go from these very vague description on top to this still vague description here to this bad, super good, super precise, great description on the bottom? Well, it's because this manager was capable of doing something very important. That is translating business needs to tech requirements. This activity over here, translating business needs to some tech requirements, it's so important. And it all depends on the AI culture of the organization. If your business people in your company are not capable of doing this, then the project that they're going to think about are going to be so vague that it's going to be extremely hard to build successful AI projects. So this is something that people do not often think about. They always think, okay, I have a project, cool, let's just build it. But the problem is that the knowledge of the business needs it's in the head of the business guys, but the knowledge of the technology is in the head of someone else, of the data scientists. And if, again, the business guys are not capable of translating what they want to do in tech terms, then the other people, the data science team is going to be just confused, okay? It's going to be really hard for these people to understand what actually is the project that the business people have in mind. Okay, now enough negativity. Let's talk about how do we solve this? How do we solve this problem? So we saw different kinds of problems, right? So we saw project level issues, we saw organizational issues, we saw cultural issues. How do we solve these ones? Well, what I've seen is that there's a cascade effect. What does it mean? That if you work on culture, the culture has an impact on the organization. Because if a company has a better AI culture, if a company understands AI better, then people in the organization are going to start this process of moving the organization towards a more AI ready shape, a more AI-ready format, okay? Because, for instance, just an example, the legal department of a company, if they know how AI works, if they work on their AI culture, then they're going to be more ready to work on the legal aspects of the projects. If the IT department knows enough about AI, then they're going to already know how the infrastructure should be before even the problems come, right? So that's why culture has a direct impact on the organizational readiness, okay? But that's not it, because once you have a good culture, this also has impacts on the projects. Why? We've seen in the beginning that one of the biggest reasons of failure of AI projects is in the visibility of these projects. Okay, it happened to me. I didn't want to make too many examples about this, but it happened to me that some clients asked me to build projects that were just so impossible to build, or even worse. This is even worse. It happened to me actually a few months ago. They tell you something that is possible to do. They tell you they have the right data. Then you get the data, you look into it, and you realize that the data you have is actually not what you expected, is not actually what you needed to build the project that you wanted. Okay? So if these people actually had a knowledge of artificial intelligence, then they will design projects that are more feasible and then more successful. So basically, my answer is start from culture. If you want to fix all these different issues, cultural level risks, organizational level risks, and project risks, you need to work on your culture, on the culture of your company. And here I want to talk about what's the result? Like, what happens once you work on culture? What happens once people start working on their AI understanding? What happens is that you start having people that are in the middle of these two circles. So on the left, there's people that have AI knowledge, okay? So these people are basically data scientists, okay? So people that just know AI and have no domain expertise at all. Domain expertise, I mean understanding of the problem, okay? So in healthcare, someone who knows a little bit about medicine or about healthcare marketing, this kind of stuff. In, I don't know, let's talk about in energy, it may be an energy engineer, okay? This is what I'm talking about. Now, the problem is people, data scientists just know stuff on the left. Right now, too many companies have either this, so someone who's a data scientist, or this, so someone who knows just about the domain. And people that just know the domain and don't know anything about AI have been called by Mark Cuban dinosaurs. Okay, this is not me, it's Mark Cuban, who's a very successful and famous entrepreneur. He said, if you don't learn AI, you're going to be a dinosaur in 3 to 5 years. Because while AI is going to be brought into the company, we've seen how bad it is if you don't have an AI culture. So right now, people that don't have an AI culture are on the right, and that's the name that Mark Cuban gave to these people is dinosaurs. Okay, no, me, don't. It's not my fault. Okay, so the leaders of the AI era in the future are going to be the ones that are in the middle, the ones that are capable of understanding both the AI knowledge, so both AI and the domain. People that know both the principal concepts of artificial intelligence and their specific domain. So that would be doctors that know AI, healthcare executives that know AI, energy engineers that know AI, mechanical engineers that know AI, marketeers that know AI, CEOs that know AI. These are the future AI leaders. Okay. So, what are the skills that you need to become that person? What do you need to know? Because you can't know everything, right? I mean, basically, I'm not telling you that you need to become both a data scientist and a marketer. There's, of course, some sweet spot. So, what do you need to know? First thing you need is an operational understanding of AI. What do I mean by operational understanding? So, operational understanding means knowing enough about AI to actually develop the projects from an executive point of view. So, I mean, you need to know what happens during your operations in an AI project, but you don't need to know how to code complex AI algorithms. This is a technical understanding of AI. You need an operational understanding of AI, which means, again, that you're not going to need to know how to write neural networks. You need to know at a high level how AI works. So this is the first skill that you need to acquire. Second skill you need to acquire is identifying strong use cases. This is a skill, okay? People think that to find good ideas for AI projects, you need to be lucky, like, the eureka moment where you have the light bulb here that just turns on. You're like, oh my God, I'm gonna do this. No, this can happen, but finding use cases and evaluating them is a skill, and you need to know how to do it. Then, last but not least, you need to be able to effectively manage AI projects. Why? Well, because managing an AI project is not the same thing of managing an IT project. AI projects are pretty complex because there's all the software side, and then there's the data side, and then there's the algorithm side, and there's the business. There's so many different things that need to play together. You need to know how to manage an AI project, okay? So you can basically juggle with all these different variables, while data scientists are just thinking about data and and the algorithms, okay? Now, we've come basically to the end of this webinar. I think my conclusion for you is that there are different reasons why an AI project can fail, but the main one, the one that is at the core of all these reasons, is education. So investing in education is the foundation for successful AI projects. This is my message for you today. Now, I want to finish this little webinar with just 2 minutes to talk about what I am trying to do to help people like you develop your AI culture, okay? So how can I help you? How can I help you with this? Because this is my mission. My mission is helping people become future AI leaders. So how am I going to do it? Well, I'm crafting 3 new courses. Probably some people already know about this. First course is called Applied AI for Professionals, and is the course that is going to give you that operational understanding I was talking about before. The second course is called Craft AI Business Cases. This one is going to teach you how to spot opportunities in an organization. And the third course is called Build and Manage AI Projects. This course is going to be instead about the different strategies you can have to build a project and how to manage its development. So now, these 3 courses are going to be live, the first one from the 1st of July, so in a month roughly, and the other 2 from the 1st of August, so roughly in 2 months. But I'm selling them already with a 30% discount. So there's a pre-launch sale. If you go on that link, so bit.ly/webinar courses, you can get to that page where there's directly the discount applied. And if you have any question or feedback for me, you can write me at my email, gianluca@aiacademy.com, with a little dash between AI and Academy. I'm going to be super happy to talk to you about the courses, what you think about them, or any other question you have about your AI career. So with this, I am done. Now I want to answer your questions. So this Gianluca already made one. If you guys have other questions, I'm going to take them. I'm going to make myself a little bit bigger so you can still read that. That's tilted for some reason. Okay. Transform, just give me a second. Flip horizontal. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this here so you can still have the link that you can read. In the meantime, I'm gonna answer your questions. So Gianluca asked, recalling the take a selfie app example, how many feedbacks did you collect? I mean, what is the amount of data I need to collect to state that the model project I'm developing is useless? This is a very good question. So first of all, there are 2 kinds of feedback, quantitative and qualitative. Okay, so quantitative is if I tell you, I don't know, 256 people said that the app is great and 322 said that it's really bad. This will be a quantitative feedback. There's also qualitative feedback where people tell you stuff like, I don't know, this app makes me feel really stressed because I need to take a selfie or something like this. What's interesting is when you're working at the very early stage of a project and you start collecting feedback, it becomes pretty clear to you pretty soon where your project is going. In this specific example, we wanted to take a few tenths of feedback, let's say 50, talk to 50 people, okay? We talked to the first person. The first person said, no, I hate this. I'm stressed enough. I can't have a baby. I don't want to have a bloody app that tells me to take a selfie every day. I will take my phone and crush it to a wall. was like, okay, that's the first feedback. Second feedback, someone who said, are you guys insane? Do you think that with all the problems I have, an app is gonna fix me? Are you crazy? Like, okay. Third feedback, always terrible. So once you get like four feedback that are super bad, then well, it doesn't really matter to try to take 500 more. You know, it's like once you start collecting feedback, then you see kind of the feedback converging towards something specific, and you kind of realize when it's time to stop. But in the early stage, this works in early stage of the project. If you wanna, if it, there's another scenario is when your project is already deployed, you have let's say 50,000 users, and then you need to get some feedback. Then it's different. Then then numbers really matter because then maybe you're trying just to fine tune a little thing like is it better to have that feature or that other feature? So that's a different game. Okay. Cool. So, Agostino, in your opinion, what is the current situation in Europe for AI? What I mean is, are countries interested in investing in AI field? I know that China and America are very advanced in this area. That's a very good question. And the answer is, I see a lot of investments from a lot of countries. Like, it's not just the US and China. US and China, of course, are the biggest investors, but just because they're huge and they're very advanced, the university are really good. But France put 2 billions in AI research, which is crazy. I see Roberto says Ireland has many companies in this sector, where Ireland is basically the tax heaven for tech companies, which is, it's a thing. But anyway, what I've seen in Europe is the following. Universities are really good. Okay, so there are a lot of universities that are great. Actually, in Italy, there's a University of Parma was like a leader in self-driving cars like 20 years ago. They were really advanced. And I think they got acquired, like they've done a little spin-off. They got acquired by a company, which I don't remember the name of. But anyway, um, there are some universities that are really good. What Europe really miss is it's not the university side, it's not the knowledge, it's not the public investment. It's big companies that invest heavily in AI. Okay, because the reason why Silicon Valley is so advanced is because there are big companies like Google, Facebook, Apple, Twitter that acquire AI companies like this, all the time. They constantly buying AI companies. And what that means is that then if you know that there are big fishes, they want to eat small fishes, they have great technology. Well, then guess what happens? Then a lot of people want to start AI companies, right? And so this creates a positive feedback loop where you have big companies that want to buy smaller companies. Then what happens is people start smaller companies and universities are like, well, if we improve our programs, then our students are going to start AI companies and then they're going to be acquired and they're going to be millionaires, they're going to give us the money. It's a positive feedback loop. In Europe, we miss that. We miss like big tech companies that are doing this kind of work. Okay, but there's a lot of good universities, a lot of good talented researchers. What I noticed also, just a last concept around this, is that I feel like there are some centers that are really excellent in certain things, like Parma for self-driving cars. Then there's like Lille has a very good professor for NLP, if I'm not mistaken, so natural language processing. The UK, I mean, the UK has DeepMind, that is the AI company of Google. That was from Cambridge. Cambridge is really good. So, there are little spots of excellence, basically. Kaya says, I think also Armenia. I don't know about Armenia, actually. I'm not 100% sure. Uh, I'll look into it. Maybe if you know some Armenian companies that is really good, let me know. But in general, like what I'm seeing now is that there's a lot of need for great mathematicians, basically, and all the Soviet Union, like all that side of the world has really good math universities. Cool, you're welcome, Agostino. So, Alberto, which is the best method to understand if an AI project is feasible or not? This is a very good question, actually, Alberto. So there are a bunch of different methods. For me, as a data scientist, it's kind of easy because I mean that's my job, and I usually what I do. I'll tell you what I do as a data scientist. I start from my understanding of the problem. So if it's a problem that has already been done, that I know that this the signal in the data, I know that the project is simple enough, then I do a second step that is look into the data that we have. Because a project may be feasible in general, but maybe the data the company has is not good. If you're not a data scientist, you have tons of different ways to do the same thing without knowing, technology super in depth. Here's a bunch of ways. First of all, if that project has already been done in some other industries, maybe not the same thing, but similar, then you're pretty confident that that project is feasible. Okay. Second of all, if you're doing a generic problem, what does it mean a generic problem? Like computer vision, okay? Like you want to make an algorithm that predicts, I don't know, if you're looking at a blue pen or at a red pen. That's a computer vision problem that is the same technology that a lot of other companies have used. So you're confident that the same technology has been developed. You're just applying it to a different case, okay? And that makes you more confident that that project is feasible. Third way, look on research papers. There are a lot of research papers that are open source out there. There's a website called archive.org, written arxiv.org. Spelling in English is a little bit complicated for me, but anyway, and you just find on research. You see if research has got good performances on your task. If no one has ever tried to do what you want to do, it's probably impossible, okay? Or at least something similar. The last thing that I can tell you is to look at the data. If you're not a data scientist and you can't look at the data, but you work for an organization, you can try to understand whether that data has already been used for advanced analytics purposes. If it has already been used for advanced analytic purposes, that means that that data is probably reliable. If no one has ever used it, then it's complicated. You basically are risking, because until you see the data, you don't know if the project is 100% feasible. So there's a lot of answers. I talk about all this stuff in the courses anyway. Gianluca, do you think that engineering master degree and a PhD in data science is a good idea to meet data science knowledge and domain knowledge? Engineering, I guess that by engineering you talk, you're meaning like energy engineering or mechanical engineering and not software engineering. Because if you mean software engineering, then no, because you're getting really into software. But if you mean energy engineering or mechanical engineering or whatever, environmental engineering, then yes, because in that case, actually, I think it's a great mix, because there's a lot of companies that right now are working on applications of AI to engineering problems. There's a lot of stuff to do in that field. I'm an example, I'm an energy engineer. And when I do energy projects, I have a lot of fun because I understand both sides. So yeah, it's definitely a good idea. Definitely a good idea. Okay, there are no other questions, looks like. If you have more, just ask. Otherwise, I'm going to end the stream. And if you have questions, you can always write me on Instagram or on my email anyway. So don't feel like, oh my God, I need to ask questions now. You can ask it also later. But I hope you guys liked the webinar. I'm gonna send some emails to people that subscribed with more information about the courses and more ideas about why I made them and how they can be helpful. If you have, again, any question, both about AI or also about the courses, if you want to know if you think they are for you or not, write me away. Super happy to give you all the information you want. That being said, I'm going to end the stream. Thank you guys for participating. I hope you liked it. I had a lot of fun, and see you soon. Ciao, everyone.